Hi, everybody. My name is Rafa Lombardino, and this is Translation Confessional. Translators and translation agencies. Today, I'd like to talk about the interaction between translators and translation agencies. Let's cover the good, the bad, and the ugly here. First of all, translation agencies get a bad rap very often, and I know translators who swear they'll never work with agencies, only with direct clients, because they can have first-hand contact with the company they're working with and make a lot more money by cutting out any intermediaries. Well, I'll play devil's advocate here and tell you about the good, some of the pros of working with agencies, from my own experiences, of course. If you've had a positive interaction with translation agencies, I'd like to hear about your own experiences as well. Then, after the break, I'll go into the bad and the ugly and share some of the cons of working with agencies, in hopes I can help you avoid any headaches along the way as you collaborate with intermediaries, especially if you're just starting out as a freelance translator. Okay, so let's start with the pros of working with translation agencies. I guess the main one is the fact that they do all the legwork. They are the ones going out and looking for companies that need translation services. For freelancers, this is great because we don't need to invest too much into researching companies that could use our services. This is true when talking about huge multinational companies that will need translation services into several languages, not just your combination. So if you stop to think about it, translation agencies serve the very specific purpose of managing large translation operations for this kind of large corporation, which is a great thing, because agencies are supposed to have people trained in dealing with multinational and multicultural projects. In a very realistic way, I'd like you to ask yourself if you could secure an account with a large multinational company that needs other languages, not just yours. Could you, all by yourself, find professionals to address this need and provide translations in all kinds of languages? It would be overwhelming, wouldn't it? Think about interviewing other translators, finding out more about their languages and cultures, trying to figure out the kind of questions you have to ask the client in order to provide translators with the information they need. I mean, I certainly don't have enough knowledge about languages that use different alphabets or are written left to right, for example. Neither do I know about the cultural differences that could interfere in a translation project and the details that must be worked out in order to make sure that the final translation will communicate a company's message clearly to the target audience. Translation agencies should have project managers familiar with these languages, so they could assist translators and clients to get the mission accomplished. That's the role of translation agencies in the translation world, because, realistically, not all multinationals will put together an in-house team to manage their own translation needs, because they would rather outsource the task to agencies that specialize in doing exactly that. Quick side note. I worked with a large multinational for about a decade without any translation agencies between us. They actually had a translation department in place, so a team of 5 people was in charge of finding freelancers and dealing directly with us as language talents, assisting us whenever a translation need would arise and bridging the gap between translators and the individual departments within the company that initiated each translation request. I micromanaged all translations dealing with English, Brazilian and European Portuguese, and Latin American Spanish. And there were 3 translators on our small team: me, my colleague from Portugal, and my colleague from South America. It was the ideal setup for everyone involved, and we worked like that year after year and completed many projects together. After 10 years, an executive decision was made within that multinational company. The in-house translation department was discontinued, and they decided to outsource all of their translation needs to a large translation agency. Funny enough, I had worked with that very same agency and knew their practices were less than ideal. This all happened about 7 years ago, and I addressed it on a YouTube video. I'll add a link to this episode's description in case you want to find out more about that particular case and the impact it had on my own translation business, since that direct client was responsible for most of the monthly workload covered by me and my colleagues. So, thinking about all that, working with a translation agency would allow you to focus on your own language and let project managers figure out all the rest, all the operational side of things. Were you to work with a large company directly, would you want the extra headache of managing languages that are unfamiliar to you, meeting multiple deadlines, collecting payment, and then paying all the other translators as well? That would be impractical, right? And that's what translation agencies are able to do. They take care of large corporations like that when it comes to managing all the language needs they have, finding translators who do a good job, taking care of the big picture and meeting all deadlines, receiving payment for the entire project and paying each translator for the work they did. And in order to do so, they have entire teams, not only of project managers, but also a sales team that finds these large corporations and persuades them to manage all their translations through the agency, as well as a marketing team to promote the agency so that more companies can find out about how to get their translation needs met. It's an industry, really, with many moving parts. Good translation agencies are very useful in managing all that so that we, translators, don't have to wear many hats, but just do our job to the best of our abilities. As long as we get paid accordingly and don't get pressured into meeting unrealistic expectations and deadlines. Having said that, after the break, I'll address the negative side of dealing with agencies because it's not all a bed of roses, you know. I hope that the cautionary tales I'll share with you in a minute will help you identify bad translation agencies and stand up for a good work environment so that you can do your part and enjoy a sustainable collaboration. This is a quick message for all tech-oriented translators and interpreters out there. Let me tell you a bit about Appsumo. It's pretty much a hub for different apps and online programs that can help you streamline your work and become more productive and efficient. They have solutions in different categories: client management, marketing, productivity, sales, SEO, social media, and web development, in case you need help putting together a professional website that will make you stand out. They have different deals going on, so you can pay just a fraction of what these apps and programs go for in the real marketplace. Make sure you subscribe to their newsletter so you can stay on top of the new deals and tools that are constantly added up to their list. Well, if you'd like to check out Appsumo yourself, go to this webpage, bit.ly/tc-app-sumo. It's easy to remember. TC for Translation Confessional, then Appsumo. Once again, the webpage is bit.ly/tc-app-sumo. Hope you like it. After addressing the good side of collaborating with translation agencies, please allow me to get to the bad and ugly parts of unsuccessful collaborations. There are some real horror stories out there, but I hope you don't get to work with agencies and project managers from hell. But if you did and lived to tell the tale, I'd be really interested in hearing all about it, so feel free to write or leave a voice message telling your story. So, I've had my share of project managers from hell. And the downside of working with translation agencies, even the good ones out there, is that they're kind of a revolving door. Project managers come and go, and they usually last about 6 to 12 months on the job before going to another translation agency or even changing industries altogether to manage other kinds of projects that are not related to translation at all. I guess that's my main beef with translation agencies, because even when they do have a good process in place, sometimes their project managers don't last long on the job to learn the process correctly. And as a translator who has been collaborating with that agency for a while, I sometimes feel like I'm the one training project managers on how to do their job, Sometimes I find myself explaining to these PMs that I need this or that file in order to do my job. It's pretty frustrating because they should have cared to learn their own company's process and not make me waste my time telling them what to do. And then, 6 months later, here comes another PM introducing themselves and saying they're excited to collaborate with me, and I have to start it all over again and explain how the collaboration will actually work, just for them to leave the translation agency 6 months later. Here's another side note. I work with a subtitling company that doesn't have good project managers sometimes. I do feel that they get in their own way because a bad subtitling PM is even worse than one dealing with regular projects because of all the tight deadlines and the technical aspects involved in subtitling. I had one project manager give me the wrong instructions as far as how on-screen text and foreign dialogues were supposed to be subtitles for a particular item. I followed those instructions to a T, just to find out I'd have to rework all episodes in that miniseries because it turns out the PM had given me bad information. There was also an issue with this very same PM deleting my subtitles by accident, and me having to work on one episode all over again. Luckily, I had downloaded a copy of my subtitles and was able to work things out, but come on! How incompetent do you have to be to botch an entire project like that? The good thing is that the company does pay well for my work, and this PM is just one of many working for them. So chances are our paths will never cross again. This PM from hell will most likely be fired or quit, and I'll still be here. I hadn't had a hard time with other PMs at that company after completing over 100 items with them, and I won't let one bad experience get in the way of my doing a good job for the end client and working on entertaining material for fair compensation. Besides all that, untrained project managers are not good at negotiating deadlines. They get pushed around by the end client, who most likely has no idea how translations work and think we can do our jobs in the blink of an eye. So we, as translators, have to be the ones explaining to PMs that, no, we cannot work on a 20,000-word project overnight. If these PMs did their job in the first place, they would tell the clients about more realistic deadlines instead of coming to us with absurd requests like that. When you've been in the business for as long as I have, it gets very annoying when I have to do this song and dance over and over again with clueless PMs. Some freelancers may also find it hard to charge a good rate for their work when collaborating with agencies that set their own prices in order to maximize their own profit. If that's the case for you, and you're feeling like you're putting too many hours into these projects and not really getting paid well for your time, try to negotiate your rate so that you can make the same amount of money in less time. If they won't budge, you really have to start looking for better paying clients, which includes not only direct clients, but also agencies that actually do their job right. Yes, believe me, There are translation agencies out there that are not just in it for the money and don't actually assign projects to just anyone who's available, charges the least amount of money, and promises to deliver the project in the shortest amount of time. Those are agencies you do not want to deal with. And if you find yourself working with them and don't feel that you are a partner that helps them get the job done, but just a number in a large database of faceless, replaceable translators according to these agencies, then you should start looking for other clients that actually appreciate your skills. That's when you start growing and developing yourself in your translation career. Send me an email at rlombardino@wordawareness.com or leave a voice message on my Anchor page. If I get enough feedback and voice messages, I can go back to the subject and post a special podcast episode with everyone's opinion on this very same theme. By the way, my Anchor page is anchor.fm/translation-confessional. I look forward to hearing from you. Stay tuned for weekly episodes and subscribe to Translation Confessional through your favorite podcast app.